1933, Washington. A decorated Marine general told Congress a group of wealthy men wanted him to lead a march on the government. The country was broke, Roosevelt was new in office, and the men with money were hunting muscle. He said no. Then the case went soft. The first name in the file was Smedley Butler. 2 medals of honor, a face the papers knew and veterans trusted. By 1933, he was out of uniform, giving speeches, calling out war profits, and drawing crowds that smelled of wool coats and stale tobacco. Then there was Gerald C. MacGuire, bond salesman, American Legion man, clean collars, careful shoes, the kind of smile that stayed on too long. He visited Butler more than once. The thing is, salesmen sell futures first. The goods come later. Behind MacGuire stood Grayson M.P. Murphy and a circle of respectable names. Banker, director, broker between money and policy. The record says patriots worried about the country. The record lies. Men like that worried about control, and control has a ledger smell. The city mattered. Washington in late 1933 carried wet stone, coal smoke, and the sour breath of unemployment lines. Roosevelt had started the New Deal. Bankers, industrial men, and old guard conservatives watched federal power spread across departments and desks they used to own. Wall Street mattered too. The cracked sidewalks near Broad Street still remembered 1929. Clerks walked fast with collars turned up. Fortunes had bled out, but some survived with enough left to finance pressure. In hard times, private conversations happen in expensive rooms. Then there was Newton D. Baker's law office, and those hotel suites where men talked around names. No uniforms, no Coup map pinned to a wall. Just Drake's, good whiskey, and talk of a veterans organization large enough to frighten Congress without firing first. On my desk sat Butler's congressional testimony, thin paper gone brittle at the edges. The scratch of my pen sounded too loud in the room. He said MacGuire talked about using 500,000 veterans. He said a figurehead president could be managed by a Secretary of General Affairs. Next to it sat MacGuire's testimony. He said the trips were business. He said the conversations were harmless. Gone. No trace of harmlessness in the margins, once Butler named numbers, meetings, and the tone of the pitch. A clipping from the Philadelphia Record showed Butler in profile, under hard flashbulb light. Another article mocked the claim as fantasy. The committee transcript was colder than the newspapers. It listed dates, places, and names, then stopped where the room started getting expensive. I kept a note card for Paul Comley French, the reporter who met MacGuire and heard enough to worry. French said MacGuire admired the Croix de Feu in France. Strong men, organized veterans, discipline in the streets. Short fragment, then the longer sentence that explained the whole smell. The official version began with hearings before the McCormack-Dickstein Committee in late 1934. Butler testified under oath. MacGuire denied it. The committee listened, weighed statements, and issued findings that treated the matter as a real discussion, though unfinished and never launched. Publicly, the plot got filed under almost. No marching columns, no seized buildings, no arrests. The country kept moving under Roosevelt, and the men named in whispers kept their offices, their clubs, and the dry click of cufflinks against hotel glassware. The committee's report said evidence showed an attempt had been discussed to establish a fascist organization in the United States. That language sat on the page like a dropped tray in a quiet diner. Then the room went back to eating. After that, the official machinery cooled. No grand prosecution, no parade of financiers in handcuffs. Newspapers split down the middle. Some treated Butler as a patriot who stopped a scheme. Others treated him like an old soldier with a taste for drama. That's where the files started talking back. MacGuire had traveled through Europe before the hearings, studying veterans groups and political movements. He came home with ideas that sounded imported. The thing is, businessmen rarely fund sightseeing when the market still smells burnt. French's account made another crack. He said, MacGuire spoke freely about replacing Roosevelt's practical power while keeping him in office as a symbol. A front, a smile for the public. That's the part that doesn't add up. Unless the mask was the plan. Then there were the missing names. Butler pointed toward men tied to finance and industry, but several were never called to answer under the same hard light. Respectability covered them. Committee caution covered the rest. Some cases stay cold for a reason. MacGuire died in 1935, not long after the hearings, at 37. Pneumonia, they said. His papers never opened this thing up any further. Dead men close doors, especially when the living are relieved to hear the latch catch. One theory said Butler had been approached as a pressure tool, not a battlefield commander. Use his reputation. Use veterans as spectacle. Force Roosevelt to accept a strong administrator who answered upward to money. No tanks in the street. Just power moved sideways. Another theory ran through the American Liberty League and wealthy anti-New Deal circles, where Roosevelt's reforms looked like class war in a good suit. The record says policy disagreement. The record lies. Around the edges, the language hardened into something meaner. And there was the foreign angle. Europe in 1933 offered working examples of democracy bent under economic panic and organized street force. MacGuire had seen some of it firsthand. He did not need to import uniforms. He only needed the method. After the hearings, Butler kept talking. He never walked it back. He kept the same blunt rhythm, same details, same contempt for the sales pitch. The men he implicated moved on. Some names faded into library dust. Others stayed engraved on foundations and board plaques. What I knew after 20 years on cold files, is simple. Real conspiracies rarely arrive with a signed confession and a warehouse full of rifles. They come dressed as committees, patriotic clubs, and private dinners where nobody writes the dangerous sentence down. I closed the folder near midnight. Cold coffee, one desk lamp. The Capitol photo stared back through a film of smoke. Butler said they asked. Congress admitted enough to matter. Then the country looked away. Where would you look next if this were your case? The desk stays cold. The questions don't.